Welcome to the CNS Podcast featuring Dr. Darryl Inaba, Research Director for CNS Productions.
From 1964 to the current time, the number of people who are tobacco users and smokers in the United States has decreased by more than 50%. Gee, amazing. More than 50% of people per capita, that is, of the United States, are no longer smoking. This is credited to things like banning advertisement, banning smoking in public places and indoors, the warning labels they put on every pack that warn you about smoking, and also increase in taxes. They're always increasing taxes, federal and state taxes on tobacco. And they feel this has dissuaded interest and use in that product. And maybe they're correct. The recent federal increase in taxes on tobacco, making it more than $1 of federal taxes on a pack of cigarettes, has pushed a pack of cigarettes to about $5 to $6 a pack. That makes a carton, a usual 10-day supply for an average one pack a day smoker, is now $60 or close to $60. And I think that could possibly have some effect, but I don't know if there's good evidence to show that just increasing the cost of drugs really promotes people stop using them and recovery from addiction to those drugs. So I think the jury's out on that aspect. What's interesting, though, is that despite a decrease by over 50% in the past 25 years or so, still, every year in the United States, from Surgeon General's report, over 400,000 people die from health hazards related to smoking. An additional 50,000 die from secondhand smoke, people who don't smoke but who are exposed to the smoke that smokers put into the environment. So we still have a huge problem, and for me, I just can't understand why they, instead of trying to prevent use or stopping it, why haven't they banned tobacco just like they banned a lot of other drugs? Well, in looking at that, we found that in 1963, when there was a Hazardous Product Act and good evidence that tobacco and nicotine was very hazardous to people, Congress exempted the tobacco from being part of that act, allowing tobacco to continue to be so today, as without banning it outright as it should have been done, since tobacco is cancerous or nicotine is cancerous back in 1963. There's this continued lobbying and continued money being poured by tobacco companies into legislation, into anything that could prevent their product from being not sold or prevent their product from being used in America. Back in 1963, when that exemption to the ban occurred, we found that the American tobacco industry actually gave a grant to the American Medical Association of $10 million to spend on some sort of research or whatever. And quickly thereafter, the American Medical Association testified that they weren't for, or didn't feel that tobacco should be part of the Hazardous Product Act. And I think that sort of thing goes on even to this day. There's $30 million being poured into sort of the advertising or the anti-advertising or campaigns that were supposed to occur, but what they're doing is actually suppressing a lot of anti-tobacco advertising that's going on. The Congress just recently gave the FDA authority to monitor and regulate tobacco, and that was in 1996. Immediately through their lobbyists and through their legislators, the American Tobacco Company challenged that authority, and it went to the Supreme Court in the year 2000. The Supreme Court said Congress really couldn't give FDA authority to regulate the tobacco industry without enacting specific legislation for them to do so. That was the year 2000. It's right now 2009, and we still don't have Congress enacting the appropriate legislation that allows the FDA to go out and regulate the tobacco industry. So we have this continual situation even to this time. I think, though, if we're not going to outright ban tobacco, I think what the companies are most afraid of is actually anti-smoking advertisement and anti-tobacco use advertisement. A recent ad came out, I think it was North Carolina, or someplace back east, where all they did was they showed a young child sort of lost in a mall. He got separated from his mother, and he was lost near an escalator, and then he starts crying, and he's very scared, and the narrative comes on and says, you know, if you lose your parent, how painful that is. And if somebody smokes cigarettes, they're going to lose their parent. You know, the average smoker dies 22 years before the average non-smoker. And so that was just the implication, that was the ad, and it made the tobacco company furious. They're saying this was an inappropriate ad, that they should be taken off the air. And I think it's because tobacco industry has used very emotional and very feeling type of ads to sell tobacco for years. You know, the Marlboro Man, Joe Camel, the coup, tobacco use in situation. Tobacco advertisement was banned, but we certainly remember when the ads were all around, really impacting feelings and emotions. And they knew that worked because it sold millions of dollars worth of, billions of dollars worth of tobacco products. Well, I think they really fear that if that technology and that ability was used in the advertisement industry to dissuade people about smoking, that maybe their days are numbered and people will voluntarily stop, since it doesn't look like it's going to be banned any day soon.
That wraps our pod for today. Thanks for visiting the CNS Podcast. Please check back soon for the next in the series and visit our website, www.cnsproductions.com.